Welcome to the hairy edition of the All 7 Days podcast. It is week 7 of quarantine, lockdown, no hair salons open, and Trevor and I are quite furry. If you want to check that out, check us out on the YouTube channel. But this is the All 7 Days podcast. I'm Stan, and that is...
Hey guys, I'm Trevor.
And we are here to answer questions, apparently any type of question. Mainly of spiritual matters. We take a look at the Bible and see what the Bible says about questions we get. And you can send your questions in at askatall7days.com, 864-660-9473. And we are just about out of questions. So if you want the podcast to continue in this format, please send in your questions. We are, shall we say, desperate for both questions and haircuts.
It's like when we started this, we were civilized, and as civilization started to end, we're regressing backwards to cavemen.
That's exactly right. So that might be a little something we might want to check out our listeners to send in pictures of their pandemic hairstyles and what they're ending up looking like. I think in Mississippi, probably in the next week or two, we might be able to get a haircut, but right now not. I've got a friend who drove from Jackson, Mississippi to Jackson, Tennessee this week just to get a haircut. And he said it was worth it.
I'm so far gone, I really don't even care anymore.
No, I'm thinking bring the mullet back and just start here, because it was coming back, right? People were starting to grow some mullets, and now they don't have much excuse for the back of their head looking like the party they wanted it to.
Yeah, I've thought about it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just
it's getting pretty long. Today's a decent hair day.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where you just really got to want that.
Right. You really have to commit to it.
Yeah, it is a commitment. It's like bacon to a pig. You really have to commit to making that happen. And I'm not sure I'm there.
I don't think it would look good on me, but I'd be willing to try if my hair was a little bit longer in the back.
Yeah, my biggest issue right now with my hair cut in the back, especially, is the hair on the back of my neck makes it look like I already have the mullet, because it's really getting out there. It's the werewolf neck. I got it going, and it's not. It's bad. It's bad. So, how are you, Trevor? Everything going okay?
Yeah, everything's been good. Weather's been nice. Just been outside playing. Like I told you earlier, we were outside playing wiffle ball earlier today. So wiffle ball is the new sport during quarantine.
Is there a home run fence in the yard? I mean, is there like a place where if you hit it there, it's a home run kind of deal?
No, but we do have bases set up.
Okay.
And so I tell Jamie we have 8 balls, and on the last ball, if he hits it, then he gets the run, instead of me chasing him every single pitch.
Yeah, absolutely.
So far, he's batting 1,000, because even if I tag him or hit him with the ball, he's not out.
So you're telling me he has a problem with lying? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
He like the rest of us is a wretched sinner.
Yeah, he makes the rules as he goes.
Okay. All right. So sounds like you need a commissioner to the league to set some fast, hard rules.
Yeah. And it'd be fun to have a couple more people out there too. Yeah. I got a big backyard, and we've got it situated to where the bases and home plate are, and it works out pretty well.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can get some kids over there and have an official game.
Yeah.
Soon.
Yeah, I enjoy that. I know Jameson would enjoy that too. So
it'd be fun. Anything else going on we need to cover? I think mask update. So orders are they kind of took a lull, because I think we got all of the professionals that needed stuff. I think that kind of has gone away. However, businesses are starting to soft open in the area, And
Hmm.
so there's kind of a second wave. It's not going to be as big as the first wave, but I think we'll probably. I didn't get a count, so I know we're over 3,000, probably approaching 4,000 at this point. But it's starting to slack off, but still, there's been a good bit of expense in shipping and fabric and that sort of stuff. So let us know if you want to help out with that cause. Cody's sold 5 of those pedals he told us about last week, and so that seems to be going pretty well. That's doing
Awesome.
a lot of good. And so if you're interested in that, go to westminsterfx.com and look up the physician. 100% of the profits from that pedal go to support masks for those in the front lines and working people who have to have them on. And who knows, we might have to wear them soon to go get a haircut, which would be good.
Yeah, I could see that if they're going to start opening businesses, they might require you just to wear some sort of facial protection.
Yeah,
Um,
could
it
be.
might be good though for some people around here to cover up half their face.
What are you saying, Trevor?
I'm not implying anything by that.
No implications whatsoever. It's just a statement.
None whatsoever.
That's hilarious.
Keep dentists out of work, right?
Sorry, I can't go to the dentist. I can't cover up this part of my face, or uncover this part of my face, rather. So, all right. Well, we have a very interesting question today. Michael sent in a question, and it's a doozy. I don't know that we can answer it, but we're gonna look see what we can find out. So we'll take a quick break first. This is the All 7 Days podcast. Welcome back to the All 7 Days podcast. I'm Stan. That's
Trevor.
and we are here to answer your questions again. And today's question comes from Michael. Michael sends in a question, and it says thusly. This is the thusly version of reading of questions. Thusly, he says, was Satan banished from heaven and cast to earth before or after the creation of man? And I have to confess, when he first sent this question, I was like, what? And then I thought, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. And I don't know. Michael thinks differently than we do. You know Michael. I know Michael.
Yeah.
Um, and apparently he thinks a little differently than we do, because I would have never thought to ask this question. When did this happen? And I think it's a great question. And I think there are some clues in the Bible. I don't know that we can answer this question outright, but we're going to give it a shot. So we're going to find out what we can find out anyway. So the first scripture I want to turn to is Isaiah chapter 14. We're going to read verses 12 through 15. And this kind of tells the initial story of what happened to Satan. So let me just read this and then we'll see what we can glean from it. How you are fallen from heaven, O day star, son of dawn. How you are cut down to the ground, you who laid the nations low. You said in your heart, I will ascend to heaven above the stars of God. I will set my throne on high. I will sit on the mount of assembly in the far reaches of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. But you are brought down to Sheol in the far reaches of the pit. Those who see you stare at you and ponder over you. Is this the man who made the earth tremble, who shook kingdoms? Here, this doesn't actually bear out the words, this is Satan. However, we get clues from O day star, son of dawn. We know that Lucifer, the name Lucifer, means son of the morning, and
Yes.
this is who we're talking about here. So now we know why Satan fell. Basically, it was pride. He wanted to be
Yes.
God. I saw I don't know if you've ever watched Ray Comfort and Living Waters Ministry. He's a pretty famous guy. He's in his 70s now, and he goes out on the street. I don't know how often he does this, but quite often. He lives in Florida
Yeah.
apparently. He's got a bicycle. He's got a little a small white dog. He puts aviator sunglasses on the dog, rides his bicycle out into wherever people are, they see his dog, and he strikes up a conversation. He uses the dog as bait. And these people come up and they, start talking about the dog. And he says, would you mind if I, talk to you a little bit on camera about some spiritual matters? And, sometimes they let that happen. And he basically witnesses to people. And it's amazing the number of times I have seen people, he asked them about, do you believe in God? Do you believe there's a God? And they say, yeah, I think there's a higher power. And anytime they say that, he asked them, well, what are they like? What is he like? What is this higher power like? And they inevitably come around to, well, it's whatever you think he is. So in other words, I have made up in my mind a God. Therefore, if it's my thought process that creates this God, then I have to be God. I created this being who is God. That makes me in charge of him. That makes me God.
Right.
They don't put that connection together, but that's really what they're saying. So here, Satan actually had the same issue. He said, I will be God. I will put myself on the
Mm-hmm.
throne. I will be like the Most High. I'm going to usurp this authority. I'm going to take over, and it's going to be me. So this is the beginning of this is why he was cast down. So and Isaiah records this for us. We've got to bear. I think the scripture you're going to read in Ezekiel is a little more poignant into the actually coming to the fall. So why don't you read that? It's Ezekiel chapter 28, verses 12 to 19.
All right. And it goes, give him this message from the sovereign Lord. You were the model of perfection, full of wisdom and exquisite in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God. Your clothing was adorned with every precious stone: red carnelian, pale green peridot, white moonstone, blue green beryl, onyx, green jasper, blue lapis lazuli, turquoise, and emerald.
Easy for you to say, by the way.
Yeah, all beautifully crafted for you and set in the finest gold. They were given to you on the day you were created. I ordained and anointed you as the mighty angelic guardian. You had access to the holy mountain of God and walked among the stones of fire. You were blameless in all you did from the day you were created until the day evil was found in you. Your rich commerce led you to violence, and you sinned. So I banished you in disgrace from the mountain of God. I expelled you, O mighty guardian, from your place among the stones of fire. Your heart was filled with pride because of all your beauty. Your wisdom was corrupted by your love of splendor. So I threw you to the ground and exposed you to the curious gaze of kings. You defiled your sanctuaries with your many sins and your dishonest trade. So I brought fire out from within you, and it consumed you. I reduced you to ashes on the ground in the sight of all who were watching. All who knew you were appalled at your fate. You have come to a terrible end, and you will exist no more.
So there he goes. There's a story of Satan being created, Satan
Mhm.
being adorned, Satan having a high position among the angels, if you will,
Mhm.
and him that pride being his downfall. And
Yes.
I tell you, I just noticed this based on our question. My translation is the ESV, so it's going to be slightly different worded than yours. But look at verse 13. You were in Eden, the garden of God. That's
Yeah.
interesting. I just noticed that. I don't know what to make of that at this point. You were the signet of perfection, full of wisdom and perfection and beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone was your covering. This sounds like he was either created in Eden or was at least there for a time
Right.
prior to his fall. Would you agree with that? Is that the way you read that?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
You
not
were
a
in Eden, Garden of God. Yeah. It's called the Garden of Eden. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
maybe he was
Is this,
gonna rule over Eden. That was his plan, or I don't know, be in charge of it.
I don't, well, I think he was in charge of a lot. I don't know if it was going to be Eden,
Right.
but I mean, he was definitely up there.
Yes.
So I don't know what to make of that. I just saw that. Maybe it's gonna influence my answer to this question. Um, was he banished from heaven and cast to earth before or after the creation of man? Well, he was at least created at some point when Eden existed. Maybe just before. It doesn't say he
Yeah.
was created in Eden. I'm just kind of, you know, it says but he was there.
Hmm.
So Eden was created just before Adam and Eve were. So at least we have some correlation there. Um,
Right.
but still don't think that answers our question. So let's go look at the event in question. Let's look at Genesis 1, 2, and 3. We're not going to read it all, so podcast listeners don't go nuts. Although it would not be a bad thing if we read 3 chapters of the Bible. I mean, come on. However, um, let's look right at the beginning here. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was over the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. What I want you to notice there is that verse 3, and God said, "Let there be light." But in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So, did the earth exist prior to the statement, "Let there be light"? There's no in
Yes,
the
I would
creation
say.
account. Yeah, it does sound like that. From verses 3 forward, it talks about everything God created. He created the light. He saw it was good. He separated light from darkness, day and night. Let there be expanse in the midst of the waters. Let the waters separate. So uh, he's creating oceans and lakes and whatever, and land. Right. So
Hmm.
there's nothing in that says he created the earth. Although after he says let there be light, the earth is already there. But it
Yes.
is but it is without form and void, it says. Now, a lot of people may disagree with me in saying when he said let there be light, that was the beginning of the universe. And I don't know. I that could be, but it's
Is
not the
that the
way it,
creation of the sun?
yeah, yeah, I don't I don't know that either. It
Yeah.
doesn't say he created the sun, he just created light. So maybe there was
Hmm.
nothing, I don't know. Maybe there's nothing for light to shine on. I may this is well above my pay grade. So but it sounds to me like, there were things existing already when he
Hmm.
said let there be light, because it talks about in the beginning God created heavens and the earth. It doesn't say when he said let there be light this was the first thing he ever created. It's just the beginning of our time. When we can start marking time from that point on, there's now a physical thing that he's doing that's going to bring man into it so that we can start marking time, I think, possibly. So, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Earth is there, it's not inhabitable. So, God starts doing his creative work through light and separating water from land and creating plants and animals and all that sort of stuff, culminating in the creation of man. Now, um, and in that whole process, God plants a garden called Eden.
Correct.
And we know from uh, verse chapter 2, verses 15 and 17, we get the command, right? So, and that is the Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and keep it. And the Lord God commanded the man, saying, "You may surely eat of every tree of the garden, but the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat. From the day for the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die." So, our first command to man is don't eat of this tree. You can eat everything else you want. Everything else is here for you. There's one tree. Don't eat of this one tree.
Right.
Now, we have to believe right there that Satan overheard that. Why? Because in chapter 3, Satan comes in the form of the serpent, and he said to the woman, did God actually say, you shall not eat of any tree in the garden? So he's twisting it already, right? Did he say you can't eat anything here? And she says, no, he said we could eat what we wanted. We just can't eat of this one tree or we'll die. And then Satan lies and says, well, you won't die. So,
Yeah.
so Satan obviously overheard what God said. So he was there at that point.
Correct.
So our question is, was he cast to earth before or after creation of man? He was definitely there when God said, don't eat. This is 3 chapters into the account of time. And we don't know how much time has passed, right? So, but we do also see in Ezekiel that you were in Eden, the garden of God, and you were already covered with all this precious stone. I wonder if those two events are related. Again, this is not pre-prep anything here. I'm tying these two
Right.
together. You were in the Garden of Eden. You were covered with these stones. You had all this. Now all of a sudden he's in the form of a serpent tempting Eve. Are these corresponding events? Is this the point where he fell?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't think so. It doesn't feel like that. It feels like he fell before that and was there to tempt her because he had already fallen and was out to since he couldn't overthrow God himself, he would try to do the next best thing, which would overthrow the people who are made in his image.
Correct.
So, but those feel awfully close together. But again, I don't know. I don't know. What do you think? Any thoughts on that?
My thoughts are, when God was creating everything, he said everything was good.
Mm-hmm.
But yet in the Garden of Eden, there was no sin yet, but yet there's a tree that has the knowledge of good and evil, but I thought
Right.
everything was good.
Mm-hmm.
So something must have happened for God to put a tree that had good and evil.
Yeah.
Why? And it could have been the account from Ezekiel when, Lucifer was created and he was given everything and he had evil in his heart. So somehow maybe it's God's way of saying, all right, I'm banishing you to earth. And now there's some form of good and evil. I don't know. It's interesting. It's I don't know. I can't wrap my head around it. I want
It's
to
hard
know.
yeah, it's hard to get this timing around. And we struggle with, you know, things like, well, God created everything. That means he created evil. And there's all these issues around, how did all this come about? Blah, blah, blah. And so, it is tough to get our minds, our finite minds around the thinking and the planning of God. But we also have to understand that uh, God doesn't think like we do. It's not one of those things that we can understand everything about God. But we do understand from his word that God is concerned about one thing above everything, and it's not us. It's his glory. He is 100% about his glory. And in his kindness, he saves wretches like us to participate in that proclaiming of his glory. Because what can be more glorious for a human to be snatched out of his sin and given the righteousness of Christ and say, oh gosh, what a great kind God that we have that would do that for someone like me who deserves his wrath and hell. That to me is the ultimate. Hey, Jameson.
You say hi.
How are you?
He said, "How are you?"
Good.
You're famous now.
Famous.
So, so I think that uh, back to our question. I don't know that we can know the exact answer of that, but we know that he was there. And as far as the perfect timing of it, the Bible does tell us a good bit about it, but it doesn't tell us exactly when it happened. Maybe that's because it happened outside of time as we know it. But we do
Right.
know the timing was good enough in God's account to put him there so that he could begin his redemptive work in history. And so there you go.
Yeah, that's a tough one to try to answer. You could just try to give clues and point you in the right direction, but it
Yeah.
really doesn't say.
Yeah. There's no exact answer there. And I'm
No.
pretty sure Michael knows that. I think he's just kind of getting our thoughts on it and seeing what we came up
Yeah.
with. But I think it is interesting still that Ezekiel says that he was in Eden, the garden of God, and then
Mm-hmm.
with all his glory, right? Lucifer was definitely endowed with a lot of glorious things, jewels, and all that kind of stuff that you read very well, by the way. and
Thank you.
and and then the switch is flipped back over to Genesis, where he's now a serpent. So that has to, in my mind, that has to be post fall. Maybe not. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think Satan's temptation of Eve was synonymous with his fall. I think that obviously
Right.
happened before that, and now he's scheming in to um, try to
Try to
mess up.
corrupt
Yeah,
God's.
yeah. But here
Yeah.
again,
I like that way.
we have God's sovereign plan in that He knew this was happening, and it was all part of the
Mm-hmm.
plan to begin His redemptive work in history. So anyway, it'll be great to hear Pastor Bradley comment on that and see where he
Yes.
lands on
I'd
that.
like to hear what he has to
I
say.
want to see a date, an exact date on a calendar from Pastor Bradley.
It was on a Tuesday,
Tuesday,
like today.
3 o'clock in the afternoon. There was this big bolt from heaven. It's probably what killed the dinosaurs.
Probably. It was Satan's fault. It wasn't an asteroid.
I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, so that'll be interesting to see his take on that. But we gave it a try, and
Well,
sometimes there aren't answers to our questions,
no.
and that's
And
okay.
I'm sure there's people out there that would say something different.
Yeah, probably so, and that's okay. It's not one of those issues that you got to hit this right or you can't get the gospel right. I don't think that's the case at all.
Correct. Yeah.
Because there's just not enough clues, not enough detail in the Bible to know. But the detail is pretty amazing, and we can learn from it. In that pride is going to get you cast down. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, any last thoughts on that one?
No. You said Michael probably has a general idea of the answer or has a thought. I'd like to hear what he has to say, as
Yeah.
well as Pastor Bradley.
Maybe we can
See what
get
they have
Michael
to say.
on and get him to fess up. Does he know something we don't
Yeah.
know? That'd be kind of fun. We should do that. Mike, if you're interested, let us know. We'll get you on and we'll talk about some things. Maybe that'd be good.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah. All right, dude. I'll let you go. Get you back to your wiffle ball game in the backyard of Jameson. He's looking.
Gotta warm the arm back up.
Get the rotator cuff and the. Don't end up having Tommy John over that one.
No, I'm not throwing it too hard.
Stick with the curveball. Don't air it out with a fastball. It'll hurt you.
No, not at all.
It'll be fun though. All right, thanks for listening today. Remember, get your questions and comments into askitall7days.com, 864-660-9473. Check us out on YouTube. You can see Trevor and my enormous beards and terrible haircuts, and get a glimpse of Jameson today. He's actually looking pretty good.
Yeah.
He looks better than we do.
Cameo.
Yeah. Join the All 7 Days Hangout on Facebook. Like I said, check us out on YouTube. Let others know about the podcast and leave us a review. Let us know how we're doing. How can we improve? Support us at all7days.com/shop for mugs and t-shirts. You can go to anchor.fm/all7days. Look for the support button there. You can be a monthly supporter. We would definitely appreciate that. And what else? Did I leave anything out?
Watch us on YouTube. Click the like button, subscribe button, share it with everybody.
There you go. The more listeners,
Yeah.
the more grief we get. It's awesome.
Yes.
All right. Remember, this is the All 7 Days podcast, where the goal is to get you to think so highly of God that you forget about yourself. Go give someone what you value most today.